a Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving breakup may be on the horizon. Now, if Kyrie Irving does opt out or decides to get traded, whatever happens with Kyrie Irving, it is very likely, or at least being speculated, that Kevin Durant will likely want out too. Now, I'm sure it depends on the circumstances. If they get a nice trade for Kyrie Irving and it's something that Kevin Durant feels like, okay, like I still have enough to be, solid here. I still have enough to be competitive. I still got Ben Simmons. Maybe me and Ben Simmons can actually work something out and be a legit contender. I mean, just think, a couple years ago, people were talking about Ben Simmons being, a top 20 player in the league. And him and Joel Embiid were, contenders year in and year out. So what is Kevin Durant with Ben Simmons and a bunch of great role players? So that's the whole thing, is like, would Kevin Durant actually opt out? But if Kevin Durant decided to leave and wants to get out of Brooklyn because Kyrie Irving ends up leaving however he decides to leave, then one of the places that has emerged as wanting Kevin Durant is Damian Lillard. Now, Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers essentially cleared their entire books, right? And then they made a trade for Jeremy Grant. And right now, really all they have is Josh Hart, Damian Lillard, Jeremy Grant, and then they have Simons, right? And outside of that, I mean, yeah, they have a couple like young guys and stuff. They're draft pick number 7, but this is likely the core that they're going to build around for this season and maybe several seasons in the future. And Damian Lillard needs help, right? This is kind of, it feels like the Portland Trailblazers' last chance to build a legit contender around Damian Lillard. They got an absolute steal in the Jeremy Grant trade. I mean, they essentially gave away nothing to go get Jeremy Grant to pair with Damian Lillard, and they need to round out the rest of the roster. There's many questions on, are they going to re-sign Nurkic, who he is a guy that Damian Lillard and him have a great connection. He is a great center and could be very well on the team next season. He is a free agent, so he could re-sign or go elsewhere. But recently, today, Damian Lillard and Nurkic both responded to a post of Kevin Durant going to the Portland Trailblazers. It was this image that was going around the internet. People were posting it of Damian Lillard and Kevin Durant in a Portland Trailblazers uniform. And Nurkic and Damian Lillard responded and posted the image on Instagram. And so, of course, this immediately sparks like, could this happen? The thing is like, Portland does have, some young talent. They do have their most recent number 7 draft pick, things like that maybe they could make a reasonable package to go and trade for Kevin Durant. They have the cap room and stuff to kind of absorb, so they don't really need to max or match contracts, stuff like that. So, I mean, it is a possibility. Is it likely? Who knows? I mean, these guys are all friends. They've all played on, Team USA together, stuff like that. They have connections, they have conversations, all of those things. So Kevin Durant and Damian Lillard potentially teaming up would make a lot of sense. And you'd still have Jeremy Grant. I mean, just that right there is enough to just intrigue, right? You got 2 big wings that can play multiple positions, that can guard multiple players in multiple positions. You got Damian Lillard and Kevin Durant, who are just big-time scorers and can knock it down from anywhere on the floor. The other thing that would be kind of funny, if this were to happen, is Kevin Durant, one of the biggest draft what-ifs ever, was Portland taking Greg Oden over Kevin Durant in the 2007 NBA draft. I mean, think of what could have happened with the Portland Trailblazers had they have drafted Kevin Durant. So it'd be kind of funny if the one team that didn't draft Kevin Durant ends up with him, years and years later. I think that would be kind of a funny full circle moment. But I mean, this team would be absolutely scary. I mean, just Damian Lillard and Kevin Durant together would be insane. Now, I don't know if they'd be able to re-sign Nurkic for a serious contract, right? Because right now, last year, he was making $18 million. You have a max on Lillard. You have a max on Kevin Durant. You have Grant, who's basically on a max, and you need to re-sign him, which is likely going to be a max contract. I don't think that the Portland Trailblazers traded for Grant to just not do anything with it. So you would imagine that Nurkic would have to take a sizable discount. Maybe he could get the mid-level exception around 10 million, something like that. And I think he would be on board with that because, I mean, he even responded with it. So it seems like he wants to stay in Portland. It seems like he wants to be a part of the Trailblazers sort of retooling. It's not really a rebuild. They're trying to retool. They're trying to build a legit contender around Damian Lillard. You go get Kevin Durant, You have Damian Lillard, you have Grant, you have Nurkic. I mean, come on. I mean, that's a serious team, especially if you could keep somebody like a Josh Hart who can play defense, who can knock down the outside shot. I think that would be one of the best starting fives in the NBA. You got a center that you can run the offense through, right? You got a guy who if he can stay healthy, that's always the biggest concern with him, but he's great. He's a guy that can go and get you, 15 to 18 points a game, down low post. But he's also a great passer for a big man, coming from Europe, stuff like that. Those guys, those big men are tremendous passers. And to have a team kind of centered around him with Kevin Durant and Damian Lillard, I mean, sky's the limit. And then you still have Grant, a guy who can, again, guard multiple positions, can play power forward, he can play small forward. You could even run a small ball center if you needed to. Kevin Durant could play the 4, you got Grant play the 5, Lillard play the 1 or 2. You have options. You have things that could really work out for the Portland Trailblazers. Now, I don't know if, 1, Kevin Durant would want to actually go to Portland. 2, I don't know if Portland has enough as constructed to go get a Kevin Durant. Like, would Brooklyn want to actually make that trade? I mean, Kevin Durant would very likely have to say, like, I want to go to Portland. Because as soon as Kevin Durant becomes available, you're going to have, 29 teams just doing whatever they can to go get Kevin Durant. It's just how it is. You're talking about arguably still one of, if not the greatest player in the NBA right now. And if he's available for trade, there's going to be ridiculous trade packages. You're going to have teams that are essentially willing to give up almost their entire roster to go get Kevin Durant. Now, would he want to go to some of those teams? That is always a question. Is he have a connection enough with Damian Lillard to say, I want to go play with Damian Lillard? Because very likely that's probably what's going to have to happen. And like I said, they have connections. They were on Team USA together. They've built friendships. They communicate. A lot of these players, a lot of these star guys, like, they have relationships. They might not be best of friends. It might not be a Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving type thing where it's like they're two best friends going to a team together, trying to compete. No, but they have a relationship. Like, they've talked in the past. We saw it with Team USA and, the Miami Heat Big Three with Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and LeBron James. They had a conversation about, like, hey, we should team up later on down the line. And that's what happened. It wouldn't be a shock if, there are other players that have done the same thing and followed suit. And it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for Damian Lillard to hit up Kevin Durant and be like, hey, man, why don't you come to the Blazers? You got you and me. We got Jeremy Grant. We could put some other pieces around us. We still got Josh Hart. We still got, whatever we don't give up in a trade package to go get you. I just think that they're usually where there's smoke, there's fire. But I will say, I think the odds of this happening are extremely slim. I don't think that this happens at all. But I would welcome it. I love Damian Lillard. I think Damian Lillard is absolutely incredible. I think he's that guy that is really loyal and deserves to have, like, a legit contender around him. I mean, dude, the poor guy has been so loyal to a team that's just hasn't handled it very well. And I mean, even Blazer fans have publicly stated, like, hey, if he left, no ill will. He's one of the few people that probably should have left on several occasions and still stuck around and is trying to give Portland another chance. So I hope he's able to get a Kevin Durant or something like that, and be competitive, or at least be a legit contender. Because that's the big problem. The question's always been like, yeah, even when Portland made it to the Western Conference Finals, there were so many circumstances that had to take place in order for that to happen, and nobody really thought that they were a legit contender. And so it would be nice to see them actually be a contender. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think about this? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think that, like, yeah, that would be incredible? I'd love to see KD and Damian together, trying to compete for a championship. Do you think, no, it'd never happen? My biggest concern, like I said, would be a trade package. Like, what are you going to give up? They don't have a lot. They got Simons. They got Keon Johnson. You got Josh Hart. You do have Eric Bledsoe, which likely would have to go into a trade just because, salary, stuff like that. But outside of that, Shadei Sharp, who they just drafted, Nazir Little, maybe, I'm not saying that they'll do all of them, but, likely a combination of 3 to 5 of those guys is probably what it would be. But anyway, love to hear your thoughts, opinions down in the comment section below. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.